Hello.
Good morning, Madam President, Madam Past President.
Good morning. I'll be back. So
Gotcha.
I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
No worries. We'll see you then. We got about 10, we got 15, so no worries.
All right, perfect.
Oh,
Good morning, President-elect, Madam President-elect.
Hello, good morning.
we got P, PA, PP, PE.
We got it all.
IP, IPP. Oh, it just poured.
Mm.
Did it really?
Yes. Oh God, did we need it?
I tried sending you the snow. It must not have come all the way like the same.
Hello.
It turned into rain.
It stopped.
Melted along the way. It's all right.
Your day will come, Sharon. You're bound to be here someday when it snows.
Hopefully it will be, we're talking like November or December.
Right. I think we're tired of this. How is everybody?
Good. How about you?
Good, good. Sewing masks, doing Zooms. I'm doing things, I'm out of my comfort zone here.
That's good. A little bit of uncomfortable isn't terrible.
Beautiful thing.
It helps
You know,
you.
we can only see the top of your head. Pull your camera forward. Pull your,
Yep.
Oh,
there you go.
There you
I
are.
even curled my
There's your
hair and put on
pretty face.
makeup. I curled my hair and put on makeup. I mean, this is special.
Not
I
me.
wanted to be like
Throw on a
Ann.
T-shirt.
I wanted to be like Ann, so I did it. Was that bad? Should I go back
I
the
love
other
the ceiling light that you have in that room.
way? It's
Liking the ceiling.
8-foot ceilings.
So tell us how beautiful the weather is in Florida, Sharon.
It's pouring.
Is it really?
Yeah, we needed this rain so bad. Everything's burned out.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's good
But
for you.
It's absolutely, well, it looks like it's stopping, but it's miserable out.
Pete, I found it. Ignore my text or email.
I already sent it to you anyway, my friend, so you got it.
Okay, sorry.
But I'm glad you found it. No, don't be sorry. I got my computer open. I can see. You're not the only one. How's that? Does that
I
make
need
you
a
feel better?
special Zoom calendar for every single class and meeting I'm part of. It's ridiculous.
And it's
Well,
tough.
if it's Google, you can add it to your calendar. I learned how to do that. I mean,
tough
I am
thing.
really,
You're techno savvy.
That's key,
Peter
because
knows
you're,
I'm not.
I
You
am
get the
not
one each
techno.
time.
Peter will tell you I'm techno nothing.
Well, she's
I'm a
techno
techno
something.
moron.
No, neither. Not at all. Technology is tough for all of us. Sometimes it's easy and it makes it easy, and sometimes you know how it is. We all get it.
Every once in a while, I get to actually teach Tom something, and he's impressed.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'll show you how to do this.
That's good. I love it.
It's
I
like
love it.
twice in our
IT.
44 years.
RIT girl. RIT girls used to say to us, Intel inside, idiot outside.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
So,
we have to
We keep telling her realtors need pictures.
We need to protect these Zoom links though, because otherwise you can put it on the BNAR calendar, but then with this many people joining us, we may not be able to know who's in here listening and watching, and this is meant for members only. So that's the only tough thing that that we have to protect all of us on that.
Don't we have to accept their acceptance?
Hi,
No.
Donna.
It's a link
Hi.
only,
Hi,
and
everybody.
No, link
Hi,
only.
Donna.
Hi, everybody. Good morning.
No, where are you?
It's
There
I'm
you
here.
are.
Oh,
I
your
know.
glasses are sparkling.
I know. I can see you now. They were horrible. I had a workout this morning, so I didn't clean them afterwards, which is never good.
I had my
10 minutes
new
to go.
washer delivered today.
Congratulations.
My other
This
one
good.
virtually blew up.
What did?
My washer, it virtually blew up. It started
no.
shaking,
Shake.
and
the
all of a
motor
sudden a boom, and there was metal pieces all through the whole thing.
Oh no.
Yeah.
10-minute warning, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
How many people do we have on so far?
41.
All right, nice early.
It's early.
birds.
10 minutes.
Hi,
Yeah.
Rachel.
Well, we can hang out, right? How is our executive committee holding up?
Um,
As
I don't
good as
know,
everybody
my
else.
recycle bin, when they picked it up, the garbage man left a pamphlet for AA. I guess I shouldn't put all the bottles out at once.
You gotta like, wrap them in like, if they're recyclable, you gotta wrap them in brown paper.
It's funny, my husband mentioned, because you just mentioned the garbage men, my husband mentioned them yesterday, and I was thinking about it because we don't really think about them, but they're just as much on the front lines as all of the healthcare workers. They're touching everybody's garbage.
Absolutely. But they
And
use the things, the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trucks.
Well, they do, but not for the recycling. I don't think they do.
Did I do it
Yeah,
good,
they do.
Sharon?
they do. They do my recycling like that too.
Do they?
Both of them.
Well, you know who else is like really forgotten are the poor cleaning
Okay,
ladies in these
everybody,
hospitals.
one
I can't even
second.
imagine. Hey,
Michelle, can you hear me? Michelle Sullivan?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can
Can
see
you
you,
turn your volume
Michelle.
up a little bit,
Hi.
please?
I got a new computer now. Hi.
Hi, Michelle.
Hey,
Nice
Michelle.
to see you.
Good to see all of you. Everyone's staying healthy.
Yes,
Yep.
you
Thank
too.
God.
Good. Let's keep it that way, right?
We've
Yes.
been grounded for 3 weeks by our kids.
Hopefully you're on good behavior.
We are, and Tom's got his weed therapy. Whenever he needs to get outside, I tell him to go pull weeds.
Oh, I thought you meant something else.
And I know, and then now got snowed on his weeds. So what are you gonna do? It'll melt. It'll melt. It'll be all good. How are you, John?
I'm well.
Thank God.
Michelle, is it managing director or managing partner?
It's just director. It's just director. You could call me the managing director. Either one, director or partner. And let's see if, I know Joe joined, Joe Aquino from my office, if we can hear him.
Yep, I'm on, Michelle. Can you hear me?
I see
Okay,
him.
super.
Yeah.
And Joe's video is broken, so we won't be able
Camera's
to see.
working, so I apologize for that.
Oh, on my screen, he moved right under you, Michelle. Oh,
Michelle, you can hear me okay, though?
yes.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay, very good.
Clearly,
Yeah.
yep. "54 participants, Madam President."
Okay. We'll give everybody some time. We got 6 more minutes. Not like we got anywhere to go. Although I've got a couple of deals going, which makes me happy.
Yay!
Me too.
I know it feels normal to work. It's like, oh my God, did I just sell a house?
I kind of like this. Stay home, talk to my friends, sell houses from here. I still
Not
haven't
as
seen
many as
it.
we'd like to, though. Hi, Gerard. Hi, everybody. I see everybody's there coming on. Everybody's got their name. Hi, Aaron. Everybody's got their names up, so that's a good thing.
I was just typing you that.
And we got, just to let everybody know while we're coming on, don't go to the chat yet. Michelle will be speaking, and then she'll probably answer a lot of your questions prior to the chat. And so just hang on and don't chat till Michelle talks, then you can chat. Otherwise, we lose your questions because it just kind of rolls. Hi, Rita. Oh, where's Eric? He's got. The sun was out and what was it, like 29 degrees? Oh, I'm getting feedback.
Needed a
Okay.
potty break.
It's all good, guys. We'll be good.
More coffee.
This too shall pass. Look at that. Now we know it's like Photoshop because he just walked into a chair. That or else Eric is really a ghost.
That's kind of creepy, Eric.
It is a little creepy. Good thing I know he's real.
I do that because I don't have my pants on.
Oh, right. We're gonna tell his mama.
We can see you got your pants on. Can't fool us.
Oh, thank the
4
Lord.
more minutes. I gotta change my background. I keep wanting to do that.
How do we change our background?
Well, your computer has to be like allow you to do it, but I think it's over on the bottom left where it says stop video, that arrow to the right of it. You click on that and it takes you to background.
Oh,
So if you
okay.
You have that ability. You can put your pictures in there like Aaron's got. Is that not the great? I can watch that tiger guy all day long.
Oh,
It's-
neat.
How about the ghost next to you?
Let me unmute you.
Oh my goodness.
I can see through your eyes.
Yes, through your eyes and your mouth. Oh my gosh.
Take that off, Sharon.
I gotta clean my room. I gotta clean my room.
A hoarder.
Hey,
I've got a
Donna,
little bit of an issue here. I'm just, I don't have a lot of time on my hands.
Donna,
Yes.
I need an extra minute. Something just happened upstairs in my house, so just wait, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, dear.
He's
We hope
probably
nothing
making
serious.
meatballs. He's making meatballs and he's going to stir the pot real quick.
Peter, is that the
Well, we stir the pot every time we talk about his meatballs.
How many here have been doing nothing but
Winning meatballs, though. Remember that. He doesn't have the winning recipe.
That's right.
Oh, who said that? I love that person. No, he does not.
Peter, is that you with all the junk in the background?
Okay, I heard that, and now I'm gonna get pissed, okay?
No getting pissed.
Yeah.
There's a rule against
about
getting
John,
pissed.
John?
Before we
Peter, you
start.
should clean your house.
Sorry about that. I thought I had a background that was clean.
It's one of those projects that you start, but you haven't been able to finish yet, right?
Right. I'm working on it though. I can at least get to the bathroom now.
Donna made me put my ghost away.
We're getting feedback in a minute, though. We're gonna mute everybody, Pete.
That's bad feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we mute ourselves?
Peter, you can do us all at once, right?
Peter will do it.
Yep, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Mhm.
All right, everybody's muted again at this point.
I know. Hi, Kim McCabe. Just seeing the people coming on. That's nice to see faces, right?
Oh yeah.
All right, it is noon, so not to keep everybody else waiting for all of the timely people. John, do you want to begin?
Yes, good morning, everyone. So in an ongoing effort by the leadership team, this is a second Zoom. We've had one other one, actually two others, I should say. And this one, the one on Tuesday, if you participated in it, was regarding unemployment. Today's is regarding Payback Protection Program and other types of business loans or grants. And we're very fortunate. Our outside accounting firm, Fried Maxick, is here, and Michelle Sullivan is a partner, and the other individual, excuse me, is Joe Aquino. They're both partners at Fried Maxick. They've been working with BNAR and Lease for over 15 years. And Joe actually, his focus is on the CARE Act and the funding. So I will turn it over to Michelle. Where'd she go?
Okay. Thank you, John. Am I unmuted?
Nope, yep, you are good.
Okay, perfect. All right, excellent. So our job today is to talk about what is called the Paycheck Protection Act. And that was a stimulus package, or is a stimulus package that is part of the larger CARES Act. So as everyone's been familiar with the CARES Act, the government's response to the coronavirus as trying to get stimulus dollars out to individuals, keep people employed, and make sure that families and people have money to pay their bills, and that businesses and economics are able to move forward. So one of the stimulus packages is the PPP, or the Paycheck Protection Program, that had an allocation of about $349 billion. What is interesting, and I see it coming up here, is the popularity of that program is out of money. So last week, they knew the popularity of it. They knew that the number of applications that they were getting for this particular loan were so high that it wasn't going to meet the demand. If many of you follow the news and follow everything that goes on, Mnuchin put forward a request last week to have another $250 billion to fund this program in anticipation that it was going to run out of money, and it was shut down by Congress because there's disagreement as to how it should be redeployed in a second round. So as we sit here today to talk about this loan, if you were to try to apply for it today, you're not going to be able to apply for it because it is basically out of appropriation. I think what's important is this still will get funded. It's just we don't know when. So I'm sure today, as the day goes on, there will be much pressure on Congress to get this moved forward. So the other thing, I think, if any of you have watched the news this morning as well, the unemployment numbers have come out, and in the last 4 weeks, there's been 20 million people that have applied for unemployment. So you can see the impact on the economy, and what's being looked at is a little bit of a failure to get this money out in the expediency that it needs to get out. So that's been a bit of a challenge and a lot of frustration for people. I know I've sat in on some of the unemployment topics that you've been covering, and a lot of the questions everyone had was relative to process. The issue with processing all this stimulus is that the systems to push these dollars out are either antiquated, or in the case of the PPP, basically the banks were burdened with the ability to push out all of these loans. So just to give you an idea, I actually wrote down some of the stats. For the $349 billion in funds, it took 13 days for this money to run out. So that really shows you the popularity, and more than popularity, the need for stimulus dollars. There was $1.62 million million applications that were approved. So if you think of that, you're close to 2 million applications that actually got approved that exhausted these $349 billion. So what I want to do, after just giving you kind of the brief and dismal news of the program and where it's at, it will get funding. So it will get additional stimulus allocations. And what we want to do today is make sure that you are all prepared as the second round of funding goes in, if it's something that you're going to be applying for, that we're able to answer your questions and give you a little bit of our understanding. And the other thing I'll caveat by saying is what we talk about today is literally going to be as of today, because as everyone's seen with the CARES package, the PPP, unemployment, it changes pretty much daily relative to regulatory clarifications that come out on how to actually move money through or clarifies how a lot of these programs are to be administered. So
Michelle, can I interrupt you
information
for 1
changes
second?
daily. Sure can.
Okay, I'm sorry. There's a little feedback here. So I'm noticing that, and I probably should have said this in the beginning, the questions are coming on. So just, Michelle, really quickly, I'm going to be reading the question once you're done and you give out the information you deem necessary. I'm going to read the question to you so you don't have to focus on that, and you can just focus on answering. Sharon's going to be helping me out with that. I want to let everybody know that I have to leave to go to the Erie County Business Task Force Zoom meeting. So I will kind of leave when I have to. Amber will then take over. It'll be a smooth transition, but you continue. And then when you're ready for questions, just let me know, and I'm going to read them for you so you don't have to focus on that.
Okay, perfect. So that's pretty much, I wanted to provide just really an update as of today. But what I want to do is I want to spend a couple of minutes giving a very high level overview of the program, and it might answer some of the questions, but let us do that. And Joe Aquino from my office is actually going to give the 50,000 foot overview, and then we can start taking the questions. So I'll toss it to Joe right now. So Peter, you'll probably have to, oh, there he is. Perfect.
Thanks for everybody for allowing me to speak today. So as Michelle mentioned, we'll give kind of a high level overview of the PPP program and what it entails. And then we'll jump into specific questions as we go, because there are a lot of moving parts to this and it seems to be changing every day. So we're trying to stay on top of it as best we can. The thing to keep in mind, as Michelle mentioned, there was $349 billion allocated to small and mid-sized businesses under Title I of the CARES Act. And that basically means anybody from a sole proprietor all the way up to companies with about 500 employees. So, if you're thinking you're too small to apply, that is not the case. The point of the program is to make sure companies can keep employees on their payroll, can keep employees employed, and can keep operations running. So that's the point of the program. Basically, the way the program is computed is they're determining a loan amount based on a company's average payroll costs. And how they're determining that is they're looking at the last 12 months, which, up to this point has been 2019, taking your average payroll costs, which is not only comp, but also retirement benefits the company pays, insurance, health insurance benefits the company pays on behalf of the employees, capping everyone at 100,000 for comp, and then multiplying that number by 2.5. So there are companies with significant benefits depending on the payroll costs that you're incurring on an average monthly basis. The great thing about the program and where most of the work is going to be spent is on these loans are actually forgivable. So if you're spending significant parts of what they're giving you on payroll related costs, and the percentage is actually 75% of the total, along with meeting employment level criteria, then 100% of what they give you can be forgiven. You don't have to pay anything back. Anything that is not forgiven, however, is basically paid out at a 2-year loan at 1% interest with payments deferred for the first 6 months. So again, pretty reasonable from a financing perspective, and they're just trying to keep companies going through economic hardships by funding what would normally be payroll related or other type expenses such as rent, such as utilities, such as mortgage interest, other operational type expenses they want to be able to cover, again, with the focus being 75% of that has to be payroll related. For independent contractors or sole proprietors, it's a little bit different of a calc. They're going to look at your Schedule C for 2019, and they're going to take the net earnings on your Schedule C, divide that by 12, and multiply by 2.5. So that's what you're eligible for if you're an independent contractor with a Schedule C. They also said in the guidance, just came out yesterday, that even if you haven't filed your tax return yet for 2019, you want to pro forma a Schedule C so that you can submit it with your application. So make sure that because that's going to be their basis for how they're determining your loan as an independent contractor. The forgiveness aspect for an independent contractor, they're going to look at basically 2 months out of, you know, the 12 as of your net earnings and consider that forgivable. So,
Excuse me, Joe. Joe, I'm sorry. Can you do me a favor and go back regarding the 1099s, what they're eligible for and what they're looking for, just one more time?
yep.
Thank you.
So if you receive 1099s and are, again, picking that income up on your tax return as a Schedule C, they're going to want a copy of that Schedule C. So for individuals that maybe have not filed their 2019 tax return yet, then they're going to want to have, if they have a tax preparer, they're going to want to at least pro forma what they will be filling out with their tax return so that there is documentation of the net earnings from self-employment that they can submit with their application.
And Joe,
Guidance
what was that
specifically
formula
refers-
again? You had mentioned Schedule C net earnings divided by 12. Can you give us that formula one more time?
Yep. So if you have no employees as a Schedule C, if you're the only one, they're going to take line 31 of the Schedule C, which is your net earnings, divide that by 12 so that you get a monthly amount, and then multiply that by 2.5. And that's what you're eligible for from a loan perspective.
If I could ask you a question too, Joe, that was going to be my question as well. But when you say, I think that the thing that most concerns people is the payback. So they say they're going to forgive. When do they say that? Do they tell you before they give you the loan, this is what's going to be forgiven? Or is that going to be told to you after the loan?
That is after. So what they're going to do is look at, once you get funded, they're going to look at the next 8 weeks from funding and see what you spent that money on. So if it's all related to payroll and you haven't had, if you have employees and you haven't had any employment reductions, then 100% of that loan would be eligible to be forgiven. Again, it's different for an independent contractor in that the way the formula is working is that you're basically taking an average earnings amount, and when you look at what's forgiven, you take your Schedule C income and divide by 8/52. And that's specifically in the guidance. They're looking at those an 8-week amount. So if you try to compare the two as an independent contractor, the formula works out that you actually would not get 100% forgiveness in that situation.
Okay.
So just some things to keep in mind.
Do you want to start with the questions, Michelle and Joe?
Sure.
All right. So the first question was from Aaron. Feedback, Sharon. Oh, okay. First question was from Aaron, and that's already been answered. Aaron Murphy. Rachel, what if you already applied for this loan? What if you did already apply? So I guess she's asking, is she going to get her money?
Sorry. So yeah, if she's in the process, you know, I think the application is under review, and it's difficult to say if the funding is counted or not in that 349 billion. So what I think we would recommend is reach out to your lending institution and check on the status, because they're scrambling right now. And I know there's some that have been rejected, but if you've applied, then I would just keep checking in with your lending institution.
Okay, and the next question is from Gerald, which I think pretty much asks the same question. And if not, Gerald, you can put it back out there. Joe Battaglia, once it is funded, where do you apply? I'm guessing that's through your personal bank would be the best thing.
Yep. The recommendation there is to go through who you have a banking relationship already with, because the banks have been flooded with applications. So a lot of the times they're not taking on new applications for customers that aren't, you know, with the bank already. So the first place to start is go to your current lending institution.
All right, and Joe Battaglia writes credit unions as well, correct?
Yeah, under this guidance, it seems, typically you'd have to be SBA certified, but the guidance has been pretty lax with who can actually apply for these. So certainly check with them as well.
And Nick Cordo, I was told that if your app is given an SBA number, then your loan is solid. It seems like independent contractors are 1 week behind the small businesses, which according to my contacts are now receiving the loans in the last couple of days. Is this what you have heard?
Yes. So the program started officially April 3rd, and that was for businesses with, employees, corporations, independent contractors, and sole proprietors. Their application window actually just opened up on the 10th. So they were a week behind in being able to apply. And the funding has taken a while, we've seen, for it to come through on some of those initial applications. So
Okay.
that is correct.
Okay, and then Rachel just actually did a comment, and then Gary Gorski says, please repeat, Gary. I don't know what you want repeated, just write in.
Donna,
chat
that's okay.
again.
That was already answered. They were just asking for the formula again, so that's already taken care of.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, I see that now. If employees, Peg, if employees were laid off, do they have to be hired back at the time of the loan application, or can they be hired back a month or two down the line?
They can be hired back if they were, if they're let go in between February and April. They can be hired back before June 30th, and it will lessen the impact of what's not forgiven. So, there isn't a specific time frame, but as long as people are hired back before June 30th, it won't negatively impact your calculation.
Okay. And then Lou, we already answered that. Brenda, Razoo, can the independent contractor also put their health insurance as part of the forgiveness? Can you collect unemployment and still apply?
So the first part of the question, the health insurance, again, it's going to be based most of the time, and I don't know the specific situation, but for a Schedule C, you're taking self-employed health insurance as a deduction on the front page of the 1040. So they're taking your net earnings and capping that amount. So a lot of times it won't be included in that net earnings number.
Okay, and can you collect unemployment and still apply? Did you answer that, Joe? I'm sorry.
No, if you're collecting unemployment, then you would not be able to apply.
Okay, good answer. From Derek, do you have to be an LLC? Also, do you have to spend it in a certain amount of time and on certain things?
You do not have to be an LLC. So, as long as, again, you're reporting your 1099s and other related expenses on a Schedule C, you can use that. As far as, what was the second part of the question?
Do you have to spend it on certain things?
So if you're a sole proprietor, the net earnings from your Schedule C, they're going to take 50 seconds of that number and say that's what's forgivable. You are allowed to spend it on, utilities, on mortgage interest, on rent, if you're deducting those things on a Schedule C, but you are capped at what you're allowed to be forgiven based on that initial formula. So you're allowed to spend that money if you got extra, but it's not going to be forgiven.
Gotcha. Vienna. So she suggests everyone go to their lender. We talked about that. There are websites like SBA.com that are shopping you out as if they are working for the government. So this is probably just to beware. Nick Cordo, I own an LLC and use it for brokerage commissions. I use my W-2 income for $940. Can I combine my Schedule C income, this LLC W-2 allocated income? Want me to read it again?
Yeah, can you read that again?
Yeah. So he owns an LLC and uses it for brokerage commissions. And then he says, I use my W-2 income for his 940. Can he combine his Schedule C income with this LLC W-2 allocated income?
Is the W-2 income coming from a different corp?
Nick, you can put in the chat and we'll get back to you. Sarah Robitaille, to everyone. How does this affect unemployment benefits? Obviously, you can't collect unemployment, so we talked about that. Okay,
Donna,
where do you go?
excuse me, Donna, real
Yes.
quick.
Yeah.
Joe and Michelle, since we're on unemployment, would you recommend right now, since there are funds pending for the PPP program, that everyone apply for unemployment? Or should they wait? What's your recommendation?
I'll field that for opinion. I think right now you've got to apply for the stimulus that is accessible and available to you. So if you can get access to unemployment in anticipation that you're waiting on the PPP, as we've seen from the first round of funding, it took most of our clients a good 2 weeks to actually see the approval process. So, and that's just approval. It wasn't the money being funded. So we've talked about the fact that people have gotten allocations. We have not, I think, in our client base, seen that the dollars have actually been pushed out. So I think our recommendation is that from an economic perspective, you've got to access the stimulus that, you know, essentially is going to help you sustain. And then when you get to the point that you're ready to apply for a PPP and you find, and I see there's a question about if it's more favorable than unemployment, I think everyone needs to do that assessment. So we all know that there's enhanced benefits right now under unemployment. And again, those are stimulus dollars. So one of the big issues that has occurred is that it could economically be more beneficial right now for someone to actually be receiving an unemployment benefit than it is for them to be applying for a PPP loan. So you've got to look at your own facts and circumstances and make that determination, because the unemployment benefit is enhanced. It is, once you are through the system, I think there's a better cadence right now relative to getting those dollars funded to you. So, you know, I do think you need to evaluate if the PPP is actually right for you. It's difficult to say, and it's been one of the biggest issues, that there's incentive in the stimulus for people actually to not work, that for some people it puts them in a much better economic position than it does keep people working. So that's an issue.
Nice. That's so true. All right, the next question, Lou said he did not hear the answer about applications being taken. Yes, they are still being taken, Lou, so do fill out the application. Michelle said that they will probably stock the pot up again and the piggy bank will be filled, so just put your application in. Sarah, can you cancel your unemployment if the loan is more favorable? And Michelle or Joe? Can you cancel your unemployment?
Yeah, so for unemployment, understanding is that each week you're basically reporting whether you're working or not. From the aspect of canceling it, if you do make the determination that the PPP is more favorable and you're able to go back to work, then obviously you're selecting one benefit over another. So you have to pay attention because you can't double up. So, I mean, that's very important that everyone understands. You can't collect unemployment and have access to the PPP. So if you make a determination that filing for the loan with the understanding that you have the potential for forgiveness and you feel that it's more favorable for you, then I think you would basically not continue to receive the unemployment benefit.
Thank you, Michelle. Peg Eisenhower, if the employee is not hired back right away, but it was before June 30th, and the money goes to those qualifying expenditures, is the forgiveness amount affected?
Yes, it would be. When you look at the costs you're expending, those are allowable costs, the rent, the utilities, so you can use the funds for that, but 75% has to at least be used for payroll. So if you're not doing that, then the amount of forgiveness will be affected, definitely.
Okay. What qualifies as a deduction for PPP to be used and what is not repayable?
So what qualifies as a use is the payroll related costs like we talked about. So compensation, health benefits, retirement benefits. You can also use rent, utilities, mortgage interest. All of those are forgivable uses of the PPP. The other one that is included is, if you're paying down other types of debt that's not mortgage related, that can be used, but it is not forgivable. So again, when you look at the total that you're spending over that 8-week period, you want to make sure 75% is payroll related.
Okay, the next one.
Donna, we missed one. Teresa
Go-
Weinstein.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, what if you already applied for both grant and unemployment insurance?
You can't. So I think Michelle already talked about that. You can't double dip. If I go up above, there is one more right up above that. I hired a new employee in February of this year and gave a good raise to another. I applied for 2.5 times the payroll and was 11,000 approximate. He said it was based off of last. Maybe we can privately email that one, Joe. And Michelle, unless you've got an answer to what he's saying. Do you see that question? It's kind of complicated, and maybe Joe can email us and send it off to you. Would that be okay?
Sure, that would be fine.
Okay. So if you have questions that are really, big questions and have a lot of questions behind the questions, email us and we'll get that off to Michelle and to Joe. Teresa Weinstein, okay, we already talked about that one. Suggestions on how we can, as IC, compare the pros and cons of PUA versus an SBA loan. And we talked about that as well. You have to figure out what works best for you. Gary, if you have more questions on that, again, give an email out. Carla Bowe, is there a minimum credit score for a PPP loan?
No, I mean, the credit applications, don't really check into that, I guess. I mean, your banking institution, might ask additional questions. We've seen, different banks handling these loans different ways, but your credit score doesn't impact. It's a set determination of cost and loan amount. It's a set, if you don't have forgiveness, it's a set interest rate and payment term. So credit score really doesn't play in. I think it's just going to be dealing with your individual lending institution and making sure they don't have any additional requirements. But we have not seen anything related to credit score issues on any of the applications.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Can you do both the PPP and the SBA loan from PEG?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
There's limits on including, they will include both of them when you're figuring out your limits, but yes, you can apply for both.
Okay. And then Chris Valentine, what can realtors do to maximize loan forgiveness?
75.
I guess it's going to depend on, whether you have employees or not. Because if you're a sole proprietor or just on your own, that forgiveness amount is going to be capped based on how much you earned on your Schedule C for 2019. So there's not
Okay.
a whole lot of flex there other than if you have, if you have higher earnings, you can borrow more, and then, that ratio of forgiveness is still going to be capped.
Okay. Can a rainmaker collect unemployment and also receive PPP for her staff to keep the business running?
So, I guess in that regard, if she's submitting just on payroll costs, again, I don't know what type of entity we're talking about.
That's
So if
okay.
it's
You know
a-
what, Joe, Tricia, if you send us an email with a little more detail, we'll send that off to Joe and Michelle and get the correct answers for you.
Yeah, with that
just so-
one, I'd like to know the entity structure and what specifically, the situation is. We can address that one better.
Okay, perfect. And then, Chris, can we deduct a lease on a vehicle? I use my mileage on my Schedule C, but without driving, I still have my lease payment with no mileage.
So again, it's going to be the Schedule C, looking at the 2019 Schedule C. So if you're including auto expenses on there in the 2019, then your forgiveness amount is just capped based on, that whatever your net earnings is. And so it's already built in there. You certainly can, as long as it's a deduction on your Schedule C. If you haven't been deducting it on your Schedule C in the past, then no, it's not allowable.
Okay, Hans, Michelle used the word stimulus while talking about the unemployment application. The government has used it in relations to the funds to be awarded. Is there a degree of collusion between, well, you can't apply for both. That's what he's asking. Is there
No,
a,
he's talking about those checks, the $1,200 that anyone who actually qualifies for those checks that were being
oh, the stimulus
deposited.
checks?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would have nothing to do with this, if that's my understanding. Jennifer Gotts, if you own more than one company, can you apply for both businesses?
Yes, you can. And especially if you have payroll on both those entities, you certainly can. Yep.
Okay. And then Chris Valentine writes, no employees. I'm not quite sure what that means. Can you do unemployment and the SB? Nope, we cannot. Okay, is this from you, Amber? What if the agent did not file 2019 taxes? Yes. Do they use their 2018 taxes?
No. The guidance specifically calls for 2019. So the recommendation is if anyone has not yet filed their 2019, then you should put a pro forma Schedule C together as if, that's what's going to be included with your 2019 tax return to use for your application.
Okay, from David. Is there anything someone should be looking for if they are a W-2 wage earner for their own S Corp or tracking expenses specifically for loan forgiveness? That's a good question.
So if you're an S Corp, you fall under, a different application than, the application is the same, but you would fall under the April 3rd time window. You're going to use your W-2 wages because that's your payroll expense. I don't know if there's any employees or not, but that would be, what you used for 2019 or what you had in wages for 2019. Take the average of that amount times 2.5. When you're talking about loan forgiveness, yes, make sure you're specifically tracking what you're spending the money on for the next 8 weeks. So if it's to pay your compensation, make sure you can justify and track that it's been used over the 8 weeks for payroll or compensation related items. Or if it is including any of the additional items you're allowed to spend it on, rent, utilities, make sure you're documenting that as well, because at the end of the period, they're going to want all the support for, here's the money we gave you, how did you spend it?
Okay, is there a flow chart? This is from Chris, or somewhere to help us sort out the type of I'm sorry, it's moving quickly on me. A COVID relief and how they are applicable to us individually. I think if you go to, as far as flow chart goes, I think, Michelle, you want to talk or see?
Sure, I can talk. Essentially, I'm not aware, but I wonder if internally we've got some kind of a rubric that we've put together. We have a resource page for our firm on our website. I know we post a lot of information relative to each individual component under the care, and sometimes we have some industry information, but I think we could probably find a rubric out there that does break it down so that you can see what is out there. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, because I know that some questions have come up relative to the EIDL loan, and I want to just clarify, when I did go on the SBA.org website, and it does specifically state that the SBA is currently not accepting applications for the PPP and the EIDL. So I know we've all seen a lot on the news relative to PPP allocation running out. I haven't specifically seen that there's low funding on the EIDL loan, but the fact that they're not taking applications for that loan leads me to conclude that fund must be exhausted as well. So, Joe, I don't know if you've heard anything specific to the EIDL, but the SBA.org does say both aren't accepting applications. So, and let me also clarify, because I think Lou may have asked a question. I would continue to check back with your bank to see, or bank or credit union or whatever lender you would go to see if they're accepting applications, because the process has been that you go to your bank or lending institution, you actually apply through them, but you're applying to get access to an SBA loan. So I don't know if banks have ceased taking applications. It's the SBA that's saying they're no longer taking applications, but it's through your bank. So your access to the loan is actually through your lending institution.
Okay, great. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is have Amber take over.
Okay,
Amber, if you could take over the next, Sharon, read off the next. I'm going to excuse myself, everybody, to get to the next meeting that I have to go to. Thank you so much. I'm
Okay,
sure
thanks,
I'll see you Zoom again, right?
Thanks.
And stay safe, everybody. Talk to you soon. I'm leaving the meeting.
Thanks,
You're
Donna.
on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon, go ahead if you know the next question.
I'm back up to Sarah Robitaille. She said, sorry if this is a stupid question or if it's been answered, but with the executive order for not working, then how can we say to the PPP that we're using it to go back to work?
I'll give my opinion on that, Joe, and then you can chime in as well. That is the $1 million issue here, is that there's a lot of pushback that's happening right now relative to the fact that the PPP is meant to keep people employed, but we've got economic conditions, executive orders, other things that are preventing us from working. So what's happening right now, and a lot of what I see out there, is that there's discussion relative to the way the PPP would work right now is you get a loan and you've got an 8-week period to basically expend the dollars to keep yourself working to be able to have that forgiven. There was some discussion I saw this morning relative to the fact to, are they going to have to go back to the program and change the provisions to maybe say that it will be a 12-week period as opposed to an 8-week period. So this is another one of those situations whereas a bill was passed with the intent and putting some parameters on how dollars would be pushed out into the economy. But what we're seeing in the real world is that it's not actually helping the way it was supposed to help. So are they going to have to go back to this particular program, being the PPP, and change prospectively how it will operate? So I think today we don't have answers to that, but we're starting to see that this is the concern of people, and it's one of the issues that's coming up relative to how the program is not working the way it was supposed to work.
Thank you, Michelle.
I agree with that. Yep, absolutely.
The next question, I'm just going to jump on here, is there a flow chart or a rubric somewhere to help us sort out the different types of COVID release and how they are applicable to us individually? It's going to be putting a file on the chat, so if you guys want to check that out, it's a very simple graphic from the SBA that goes through both the EIDL as well as the PPP. It doesn't answer all the questions, but it tries to break it down for you. But I've not personally seen anything that has all of the different types of COVID relief. Have either of you?
There might be something out there. I can't put anything, like right now, I don't have a resource that I could say, okay, we'll share something, but I think there's got to be something that's out there that we can probably push out to you all.
Yeah, and I think our website does lay out a lot of the programs, and another, pretty valuable resource has been the treasury.gov website. Actually, they lay out a lot of frequently asked questions, a lot of the programs they update, pretty much daily on questions. So it does lay out a lot of the programs that we're kind of using as a resource to stay up to date. But yeah, we can certainly check and see if there's anything better that we can pass around.
Thank you, Joe. I've been deducting a Schedule C, just not clear if we can swap methods of auto deductions, i.e. actual expenses versus flat mileage. I believe we already answered that. It's something that you have to have already been doing in previous tax returns, correct?
Correct. So, yeah, and I don't know, they didn't specifically address like the mileage method issue. I think, if you've been deducting auto expenses, they haven't clarified on whether you can change the method when you're using it, but, it would seem reasonable that you can. Again, you're basing the loan amount and the forgiveness amount off the net earnings on that Schedule C. So, to include them both in there, I don't see a reason why that would be, not allowed.
Okay. Regarding submitting 2019 1099, if this amount reflects a number much greater than the max of 100,000, do you really need a pro forma?
The guidance will tell you yes, that you cap that at 100,000 and do the pro forma on 100,000. I mean, it's just what the guidance says. So I think, again, it might be lending institution specific on what they want as support, but they do say you should fill out a Schedule C so that they can use it to verify.
Thank you, Joe. Jennifer had asked if this was being recorded to be able to rewatch and listen. It will not be distributed to rewatch or listen later. Terry, thank you for copying and pasting that in there for everyone to read. David, some banks have stopped taking applications, correct? They have, we've talked about that. Moving down a little bit, Carla, I have applied directly on SBA.gov for the EIDL on April 3rd. I've received my application number and noticed that I'd hear something in 3 days. It's been 13 and I've heard nothing. Any update on the EIDL?
Yeah, so I think this is what Michelle was mentioning, and I guess that might be news this morning that both the programs are tapped out. So I think they're going to refund everything, but it sounds like they may have put the EIDL on hold as well.
Okay.
Again, I think our recommendation is keep checking with your lending institution. I mean, they're the ones handling the application process and dealing with the SBA, so they would be able to actually provide more specific guidance.
All right. My screen's jumping a little bit here. Thank you guys for your comments, but I do apologize. Your comments actually make it a little bit harder to go through the chat. I do appreciate them, but please can we keep it to questions for now? Moving down in the chat to find some questions.
We're at the end. You got them all, Amber.
Carol, I think Carol, did you, Carol Lee, I filled out the EIDL early April and did not get a number. I have not heard back. I think I may have filed out incorrectly and cannot get back in now. Do I understand that the change they made was that the max we could get is 1,000 each?
No, I think the EIDL, there's no term in the amount you're eligible for based on your economic loss as they determine it. So I don't, the 1,000 doesn't sound familiar to me, but the other thing to keep in mind is that the EIDL does go directly through the SBA, but the banks still, you know, may have an idea, because if you try to reach the SBA, you're not going to have a lot of luck. So I would say start with your lending institution, but the EIDL application does actually go directly through the SBA website. So that's just something to keep in mind. But
Great.
As far as the cap, I haven't heard that, no.
Thank you. Pete, thank you for putting that graphic on there. Just to let everybody know in the chat, that chart or that graphic is the one that breaks it down pretty simply for you from the Small Business Association.
Yeah, there's two sides to Amber, PPL, and EIDL, so it shows you the differences and where they all connect. So,
All right, and I believe we're at the end. Are there any extra questions or anything else that we did not answer that you want to take this time to ask now? EIDL and SBA was the next one. So SBA is Small Business Association, and then the EIDL is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, I believe.
No, correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else, guys? All right, well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for all of your time. We did this in record time. 49 minutes, not bad, not bad. If you guys do have any questions, if there's something specific to your situation that you do not feel comfortable putting in the chat, please reach out to one of us on your leadership team or the BNAR staff, and we will get your question answered for you. I do thank all of you for your time. I do thank you for Michelle and Joe for your time and getting everything to us in the easiest way to understand possible.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good to
Thanks,
see
everybody.
you.
Thanks.
Good to
Have a
see
great
everyone
day.
too.